So every once in a while, I loan my car out to people, whether they're friends or family, that are carless for a moment in time, whether, they just don't have a car or they're in from out of town. And every time I do this, I get a phone call. They're just about to take off, and I've given them the keys, they're out in the parking lot, and they call and they're like, can you come here? And I'm always just, sometimes it's when I'm asleep, because they're borrowing my car like 6 o'clock in the morning. Or other times I'm in the middle of something really important or something I really can't leave. One time in particular, I was getting my nails done with my mom. It's what we do. It's our time bonding together. And my sister was borrowing my car. She was in from out of the country, and she had a hair appointment that was just really tightly scheduled. She had to go at that moment. She ran into the nail salon, grabbed my keys, took off without saying anything, until I get the phone call. Erin, how do you start your car? And I explained, well, you put the key in the ignition, turn it to the left, pull the key out a little bit, turn it to the right, then turn the key, trying to explain everything to her. And she is just confused. And rightly so. I'm trying to explain to her because my hands are being dealt with by other people and I have nails being ripped off. Not a situation I can leave easily. There's acrylic being painted on me. And so finally, I'm just like, whatever, I leave. Half my nails off, half my nails on. I'm still drying, so I had clumps of acrylic all over. Run out to my car, grab the keys from her, hop in the driver's seat, turn it on, and then take off. No problem. Wasn't difficult at all. And she's infuriated, just as everyone else is who borrows my car. I come out and save the day. The reason is that there is a secret to starting my car. And if you fight it, if you don't do it just right, it's not going to start for you. And the harder you try to make it work, the harder it's going to be for you. But if you just get in and do everything right, you don't even know that it's difficult. Every family has their secret recipes, their secret wisdom that's passed down from generation to generation. There's the Bush's baked beans secret recipe that Duke is always trying to share. There's, how do you solve for poison ivy? Really, how do you do it? And my biggest question that I want to know, right now, if you have an answer, you got to tell me. How do you solve for hiccups? Nikita, how do you do it?
You hold your breath. That works for me all the time.
I can't do it. It doesn't work. I had hiccups the other day for like an hour and a half. Could not solve it to save my life. So, if you have any ideas, let me know. But in Philippians 4, Paul lets us in on a great little secret. It's the secret to being content. We've been talking about worthwhile living in impossible situations and going through the book of Philippians to do so. And before I get on to, what the secret of being content is, I want to know what it has to do with worthwhile living. So, found out it's pretty simple. If you're content in whatever situation, life is going to be worth living. It's going to be worthwhile. So we want to know, let's be content. Let's figure out how to do it no matter what's going on. And as Paul's telling us this secret, he's going through a few things that we need to remember. Before we just rely on the secret, we need to remember how to use it. The first thing is that it is the thought that counts. In verses 10 and first part of 11, Paul says, I rejoice greatly in the Lord that at last you have renewed your concern for me. Indeed, you've been concerned, but you have had no opportunity to show it. I'm not saying this because I'm in need. It was not the gift that Paul was grateful for at this moment in time. It was a good thing, but he was grateful that the people of Philippi cared about him enough to send the gift. They were worried about him. It was that relationship that mattered to him. When I was in junior high, in my first couple of years in high school, I was obsessed with M&Ms. Not necessarily the candy, because I don't really like chocolate all that much, but I love, the characters, the green and the red, and the little crispy guy who's orange and is always running because he's scared. Loved them. I loved the paraphernalia. I had, the little notebooks, the stickers. I had the stuffed animal. I had everything. And one Christmas, I was exchanging gifts with a friend just a couple days before Christmas, and I opened up this present, and it was a jukebox. And in front of the jukebox was the red and the green M&M, and they were dancing. And you put M&Ms in the back and press a button, and they'd come out the front. It was the coolest little dispenser ever, and it was perfect. I was so so excited. Then a couple days later, you're having Christmas with the family. I open up a present from my mom, and I see this jukebox, and I'm like, oh. Okay, and I keep opening, and it's the exact same jukebox. And I'm kind of like, well, that's kind of cool. I kind of already have it. But okay. And then, to top it all off, a few days after Christmas, I'm exchanging presents with another friend, and I start to open their gift, and I just see the green M&M. It's the first thing I see, and I'm just like, oh. But in my head, I'm like, I cannot show this, that I'm completely just frustrated with this. And I open it up, and it is that jukebox once again with the dancing M&Ms. It's the third one I've gotten within a week. And I gotta say, I was not excited about that gift. I did not care. But it still mattered to me that all three of them knew me enough. They cared enough about me to put the time and effort into finding something that I would love. And it really was the perfect gift for me. I just happened to get it 3 times. The difference between my M&M dispensers and the gift that Paul received from the Philippians is that he didn't have an excess of it. He didn't have cupboards and a fridge full of just food that needed to be eaten, like a lot of our apartments have right now as we're all moving out. He didn't have a bank account that was accruing interest. He needed everything to live on. But it didn't matter to him that there was a gift. It mattered to him that someone cared. That relationship was an important key to his contentment. It wasn't the only thing, but it was important. The second thing that Paul wants us to remember is that he's been there and done that. You can't go to Paul and say, oh my gosh, listen to the situation, because he's going to be like, yeah, I've got worse. Thanks, though. We read verse 11, just continuing on. It says, for I have learned to be content, whatever the circumstances. I know what it is to be in need. I know what it is to have plenty. I have learned the secret of being content in any and every situation, whether well-fed or hungry, whether living in plenty or in want. Paul has been through it all. If you were to come and tell him the worst story of your situation, he's going to be able to understand it. And he'd say, yeah, I know. I've been there. I've done that. You can have your greatest high and have these amazing accomplishments. And he goes, yeah, I know that feeling. Isn't it great? But what was important about Paul is he had figured out how to be content no matter where he was on that spectrum. But it wasn't something that came naturally. He says very specifically, I have learned to be content. It's not part of his personality just to sit back and go with the flow. My favorite TV show of all time is Survivor. I have been watching it since the very first season. I have been a hardcore fan, and I cannot watch it on its regular scheduled time, so I am on demanding it the minute I get home. I am there watching it. I love it. Probably the best competitor of all time is Kobe Donaldson. He was in the second season, Australia, and he got second place, and that sucked so bad. I was so upset. I was like, no, you were the best. He not only won every challenge because he was like the strongest guy ever to exist, but he was brilliant. And so when they had these intellectual challenges, he just killed everyone. There was no beating him. And beyond that, he got along with people so well that he played the social side of the game as well. He was the ideal competitor. He's now on the Heroes versus Villains season that's on currently. And he's on with another guy named James, who is just this 6'12", massive, just pure muscle African-American man. He could lift a train. I'm telling you, James is phenomenal. But James's favorite survivor of all times is Colby. He says, he's kind of like my Superman. And I just think it's great that you have this massive guy that can,